I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Taskmaster, Champion of the Champions number 3, which aired a couple of weeks ago. I really enjoyed this episode. I think the Taskmaster is getting better and better, which is really, really rare for a TV show, I think, nowadays. But even though I really liked the first few seasons, I just think it's really got this momentum at the moment, and I think Champion of the Champions 3 is a perfect example of that. This time competing, it was Dara O'Brien, Kiell, Smith-Bynoe, Morgana Robinson, Sarah Kendall and Sophie Duker. It was really a shame that May couldn't be there, but I think Kiell was an excellent choice to replace them with. Not only because he's very entertaining, but I always forget that he came second. I don't know why, but I think just his anger at not getting points always makes me think that he was further down in the rankings. But no, he came second. I did want him to win just because I thought it would have been funny if a non-champion won Champion of the Champions, and it would have been interesting to see what they would have done if it was if they ever do a Champion of the Champions, which I really hope they do, whether they would have gone with May or Kiell, considering May was the original champion, but Kiell won Champion of the Champions. But we won't have that. There are going to be spoilers in this video, obviously. Going into this episode, I was expecting the main competition to be between Dara and Sophie. Dara is the highest scoring contestant we've ever had on the show, so obviously he was going to be at fierce competition, and Sophie, I just think, runs into Taskmaster with such a fun, competitive energy, so I definitely thought she was going to give it her all, but I thought everybody was a really strong contestant this time round. There were lots of things that I loved straight away, lots of link backs to their seasons, which I really enjoyed. It's nice to see little remembrance of things that they did on their season of Taskmaster. So things that I loved: Kiell's jumper, playing homage to May, I absolutely loved. Dara, the outfit, had loads of little quotes and images from his seasons in patches, which I thought was incredible. I would love those patches. I loved all the jokes about Kiell not being a champion. You'd think it would get old, but I thought every single time it was hilarious. I just thought it was just really funny, just winding him up, especially as he's someone who does have a really good reaction to those things. He's really playful with it. I just thought it was really funny. Another thing that I didn't realise until the episode aired and they said on the show, but it being the 150th episode of Taskmaster, I think that's really special for it being the Champion of Champions. It makes sense to me why they aired it that way round instead of Champion of Champions then New Year's treat. I think it's definitely more appropriate for the 150th episode to be a Champion of the Champion episode. Every task I thought in this was very good. I loved the intro task as well, doing the chase sequence. I love that little addition that they have. I think it's a really great way of creating an intro sequence that's not just us showing, seeing the 3-4 tasks that they do in the show, so I definitely like that. I think they did it last time as well, but yeah, I just really like that. The prize task this time was the thing that they would wish for from a genie. This I liked as a prize task. I did think it was quite a hard one though, because a lot of the things you'd actually wish for from a genie would be things that you can't attain normally, and I think Morgana was the one who really played with that bit the most, bringing in an extra pair of hands, an actual extra pair of hands attached to her body. So I think that's why she won. She definitely used the element of the genie a bit more, even though as a prize it's not very good, but as a concept and as linking to the genie part, I thought was really good. I loved that the task started with Sarah already being annoyed at Alex and Greg. I just thought it set a really fun tone to the episode, and I think especially because it was Sarah whose season aired the longest time ago, and for her to be the one that's harbouring this resentment and anger towards Greg and Alex, I thought was hilarious. To me it'd make more sense if it was Kiell who held the most anger, but yeah, Sarah I just thought was hilarious. And I think as well, because then we later see her attempts in the tasks, which were largely disastrous and frustrating for her, that it just makes it that extra bit funnier. Because I don't think her prize was that bad. I thought a black belt in karate was a pretty good one to bring in. It's something that she naturally wouldn't achieve by herself. I mean, she probably could, but it does, like she said, it takes years and years of effort that she wasn't willing to put in. So I thought it was a good prize, and I think just mainly Greg's anger and her anger towards Greg made him score it even lower than he perhaps should have. As I said, I loved Morgana's one. I liked that she played with Sarah's anger towards Greg and Alex. I thought that was quite fun. I think it was, I don't know, it was just a really fun moment to begin the show with. Sophie's prize was hilarious, the Greg and Alex couples costume. I just love that they keep bringing up all the fan fiction and internet comments about them being together. Like, you'd think it'd be something that they would ignore, but I love that they're using it and they're playing with it, and it's just, I think, funny that they're remarking on. There is an outtake of this episode of them talking about the fan fiction, and it's just wild. It's just really funny, and yeah, I like that they're continuously playing with that. Like, they talked about it in the New Year's treat, they talked about it last season. Like, it's just something that they're continuously bringing up, and I think it's hilarious. I thought this was quite clever from Sophie as well, because it's kind of playing into a running joke, so it makes sense that it would score relatively like high, and it's also kind of giving the audience what they want as well. Dara as well, absolutely hilarious. The hair thing was just incredible. I just thought it was such a great thing, like playing on, like, I know he's made lots of jokes about being bold before, but I just thought the wig was an extra touch, especially, like they said, it was very much like a middle-aged woman wig that didn't really match his face at all, and all the photos he took were incredible. So yeah, that I do think should have been maybe a little bit higher scored, but I do think Morgana's and Kiell's, which I'll talk about now, were very, very good and did deserve good marks. Kiell bringing in the assistant puppet that was also made by May's dad. This was a wonderful link to his season and May's puppet that they brought in. I just thought it was lovely, and I loved that Kiell has brought in something to do with May rather than just kind of going off on his own. And the impression he did was funny, especially because he kind of got the phrase wrong. But yeah, it was just fantastic. The first task of this episode was the waiter task. They had to bring Alex the food, and this is kind of a play on the New Zealand task that was record Paul, and they basically just had to find Paul, and there was all these fake Pauls. I love that they're able to take elements of tasks from different countries' editions, but kind of add it to, and like change it up and have it so it's completely distinct from its original. The only real link here is that they have to find Alex, and there's lots of decoy Alexes around, which is obviously a play on the New Zealand one, but it's so different, it's so fun. I liked the waiter aspect of it. The additional penalty of having to clap if you dropped any of the food was very harsh, and I'm surprised not many people had to do that. It was only Morgana and Sarah, I believe. So yeah, I just thought it was a really wonderful task, and I know they have also taken a New Zealand task in this episode as well, which I will talk about when we get to it. But yeah, I really liked this task. I thought it was a really wonderful one. I'd love to see it play out even more, like have like elements of this task in other things. I like that it kind of links to the hotel task. This idea of turning like service jobs into tasks, because they're often frustrating, and then making them even more frustrating. So obviously they had the hotel task where they had to cater to Alex, and now this one having to cater to Alex by delivering him food. I like how harsh Greg was with this one, immediately setting this idea that if you don't clap for the amount of time, then you're immediately disqualified. And then we had Morgana being immediately disqualified. I did feel bad for her, but she did only clap for like 30 seconds, which I think if it had been like 59 seconds or something like that, I would have been annoyed on her behalf. But I think 30 seconds, it's like, come on, it's so far away from being a minute. And I love the 2-minute timeout. I think that was such a fun trick. Again, not many people fell for it, only Morgana did. But yeah, I liked that addition. I thought it was very funny. I think Dara did this task like perfectly, like as perfect as you can do it. He didn't drop a single thing. He bought Alex the food, put it in the right place. He found Alex fairly quickly. And yeah, the spitting in the drink was horrible. But again, playing into that kind of stereotype, not stereotype, but that idea that if you annoy the waiter, they'll spit in your food. I love that it played on that, intentional or not. I just thought it was very fun. And then when Alex dropped the food, getting him to clap at the end, like, Dara is so good on this show. Like, he definitely deserves to win. I just think he's able to, he really plays with the Taskmaster's like sense of humour very well, while also putting in a really great effort to the task and doing things like relatively seamlessly. Sophie, I think, went into this episode, now that she's been on Taskmaster, with like trying to find all those loopholes. There's loads of things she did just in this one task, such as looking under the chickpeas to see if there's any clues or anything, skipping around instead of running, and also bringing Alex to the meal instead of the other way around. Yeah, I thought that she did it amazingly. And when I said Dara did the task like perfectly, he did it like as it was intended, whereas Sophie did this in such an inventive and creative way. And yeah, I love that she used the loopholes that were available to her that allowed her to not be disqualified. Unlike Kiell, I'm kind of in two minds about this because I think it's kind of clever, especially when, you know, look, you kind of think about it, is something that is faking being Alex, like can you just call it Alex and that's Alex and you can serve it and do the task? Or is it cheating? But like, should he have been disqualified? Again, I love that this links back to another task from his season, which was the pineapple task. And I love that he's still going on about it. I think it's hilarious because I'm on May's side in this. I think not to get into it again, but I think if like an inflatable of a pineapple can be a pineapple, then a drawing of a pineapple can be a pineapple. That's where I stand on it. So I don't know. I wouldn't have been mad if Greg gave him the points for this, because, you know, if you're saying it's Alex, a fake Alex isn't Alex, a picture of Alex is Alex, you know, if you go on that road. And I like that on Twitter people pointed out that in the next task, putting the hat on the Taskmaster, you're not actually putting the hat on the Taskmaster, you're putting it on the representation of the Taskmaster. So it's like, so that can be the Taskmaster, but this dummy can't be Alex. So I like both arguments, and I'm not really mad that he got disqualified, and I wouldn't have also been mad if he didn't get disqualified. I think either judgment would have been fair. But I love that this has caused more debate around the pineapple task. And of course, my favourite attempt at this task was Sarah. I think Sarah in this episode is just my favourite. I just thought she was just absolutely hilarious. Immediately dropping everything, clapping like more time than everybody else took to do their task, or however long it was. I am so surprised she did not get disqualified. Like, she clapped for the right amount of time every single time. But this looked so frustrating. But it was absolutely hilarious. I love that she did actually manage to do it in the end. It would have been really like saddening if like she hadn't completed it or she got disqualified. I like that her efforts didn't go unrewarded. I really like this task, and one thing I am surprised about this location task is how like public it was. That there were like people walking their dogs through the like place where they were doing the task. I understand that they can't shut that off to the public, but I thought, like, considering now how high profile Taskmaster is, I'm surprised that was allowed. Like, I don't know. I'm surprised that the public were just allowed to be walking around in Taskmaster. Like, because so many people go to that location because it was on Taskmaster. Like, they could have very easily got like a crazy fan there. But yeah, I loved all the interactions with the dog as well. The next task was a double task, which I really enjoyed. It was give yourself a disadvantage and then put the hat on the Taskmaster without knowing you had to put the hat on the Taskmaster. The disadvantages, my first thought was blindfolded, which if I was doing this, I would have been screwed. Or like tying your legs together so you had to hop everywhere, I thought would have been a good one as well. Yeah, but I thought everybody gave themselves a decent disadvantage. At first, I thought Sophie's was a bit rubbish. Like I said, that's not really a disadvantage. But I thought it did like distract her, and some of the comments were quite mean, as they were intended to be. But yeah, I thought it was quite funny, and I think Greg's scoring of the disadvantages was quite fair as well. Although I perhaps would have given Morgana 5 and Kiell 4, rather than giving them both 5. The Satsumas in the mouth was pretty horrible and would have been pretty bad to deal with, but I just think Morgana was so disadvantaged in her attempt that I feel like she maybe should have got an extra point. Her attempt was definitely the worst in terms of how much she struggled. I was very impressed by how well she did, like doing pretty much as well as Sarah, who was only just mute in her task. She did get quite lucky with the disadvantage not actually affecting her, but yeah, it didn't really matter though. But yeah, I thought both of their attempts are pretty good. This task I thought was surprisingly difficult. When they said it was to put the hat on the Taskmaster, again, they had to choose a hat without knowing what the task was. That's another thing they had to do blind. But I thought that it sounded quite easy. But everybody seemed to struggle like with this task, even if they didn't have a particularly bad disadvantage. I guess just because the hats didn't fit the Taskmaster head. But yeah, I thought this was a surprisingly difficult task. Sophie, I thought, had a really, really good way of doing it, even though it didn't 100% work how she wanted it to. The ice thing, I thought it was really smart, and it's a shame that her final attempt didn't work, but I am glad that they gave her the points for the first attempt. I thought that was a really smart idea. I never would have thought of that at all. And another thing about Sophie's attempt was Alex's insult, which I mentioned before. But again, I loved seeing Alex on the other side of like that, like being the one who is insulting rather than the one that's being insulted. I thought it was a really fun dynamic, and I like that he really got into it. Dara's attempt, I did really like how he actually got the hat onto the head. Obviously, it's a very classic way of doing a task in Taskmaster. I don't know how I feel about him not doing the clicking, because that was quite a big part of his disqualification. I know it kind of he defended it with like a jazz joke reference. I didn't quite understand. I think I got what he was going for, but I don't know. I think he definitely shouldn't. He maybe should have been docked a point for his disadvantage. Like he got 2 with it, everybody else got 3, because I don't know, I feel like he just didn't do half of his thing. Like, yeah, that was my only complaint about his, but like again, it's not a big deal. It would have been interesting though if we did go to a tie break on Champion of the Champions. Kiell's one was pretty bad. I still think he maybe should have got 4 points for his, but I can just imagine how painful that would have been, so I definitely understand why he got 5 points. Again, his loopholes in this I thought was actually very good. The ladder on the head I wouldn't have given, because technically, yes, it's on the head because it's on the ladder that's on the head, but I wouldn't have given that. But I think his final attempt was genuine. I think he 100% deserved the point for that. But I love that they moved the statue. I didn't think that the body of the statue would be detachable from the chair. I thought that was really funny, and I liked that it kind of put Greg in like a more compromising position. I just thought it was really funny to look at. And I like that Greg actually did give points out for the disadvantages rather than just it kind of like affecting the people who did the best disadvantage like the most. So yeah, I thought that was really good. I like that they didn't skip over that. The final filmed task of this episode was to do the stupidest thing, and this is another task that they have taken from New Zealand, Taskmaster New Zealand, again from series 2, which is where the waiter, not the waiter one, but like, you know, the find Alex, find Paul one was taken from. But this was actually an unaired task in the New Zealand one, if you don't know. They had this task, and I believe maybe all of them did it, but we only know of 2 of the attempts. One of the contestants ended up getting really hurt from it, like breaking bones, and another contestant did something really stupid, but would have been absolutely hilarious to watch. But they would have had to blur it all out anyway. But yeah, they had to not air the task because they couldn't air any of that. So I absolutely love that they've taken that task and done it here, with the emphasis of you cannot hurt yourself or other people. It's nice to see it play out, because I would have no, I don't want to see someone get hurt, but I think it's a really good idea for a task. Starting off with Sarah, who I genuinely think should have won this task. No, she should have come second in this task. Throwing her keys into a bush and then spending over an hour looking for them. How did she not get more than 3 points? Like, it was genuinely a stupid idea, and it had, like, real-life consequences. Like, she was looking for an hour and a half for her keys, ruining her day. She'd already been there in the other place for ages doing the task. But yeah, she definitely should have got more points. It was such a stupid idea. Dara went kind of, like, down the fun stupid, like, messing around kind of stupid. I did think it was good. I don't think he should have got 4 points. I think Sarah should have got 4. Like, it was fun and stupid, but like, I just think if it has real world consequences, like actual consequences that cause you to like suffer a little bit, then you should get more points. Kiell and Sophie's, I thought kind of were a bit similar to me. Like, definitely think Sophie's was better, you know, insulting Greg and doing this kind of like weird dramatic theatre piece while ripping Greg and smothering him in like ketchup and sauce and stuff. It was stupid, but like, I don't know, it's not, if I said something, do something stupid, that's not what I would do, if that makes sense. And Kiell's magic trick, it was stupid in the end because he ended up doing it wrong, but I just don't, like, I wouldn't, if he had done that, I wouldn't have used stupid as an adjective to describe it, you know? Like, if it had actually worked out well, like, I don't know, I just think they were very weird attempts at the task. Sophie, I don't think should have got 3 points. If it was me scoring it, it would have been Kiell last, then Sophie, then Dara, then Sarah, then Morgana. But yeah, I just don't understand how Sarah only got 2 points. I think I was saying 3 before, but she only got 2 points, and Sophie got 3 points. And last but not least is Morgana. Undeniably should get 5 points. Genuinely stupid. At first I thought it was just kind of, like I said with Sophie, it's like a dramatic theatre piece, a dramatic art piece. And I did quite like it when she was just chucking paint on herself. But the moment she put paint in her mouth, it was like, okay, yeah, she's getting 5 points. That was, it was awful. It was absolutely awful, but it was hilarious, and yeah, definitely deserves 5 points for that. And the studio task was to say the thing that wasn't Greg's favourite. I thought this was quite fun. I don't think it was as impactful as a final task as perhaps the one in New Year's Treat was, because it was fun, and it was a long-running task. As I said in my review of the New Year's Treat, I think doing things like this where it's guaranteed to have a few rounds, or it's guaranteed to be a decent task, it's not going to be anticlimactic, it's not going to not everybody's going to fail, it's not going to be anything like that where people are going for this one episode of the show and it's the only episode people are watching it and it's a rubbish end task. Again, like I said, it's not my favourite one, but I thought it was quite fun. There was a bit of tension there, and even though the final round was a bit sudden, I thought it quite worked. And yeah, overall I did enjoy the task, but as I said, I just feel like something a bit more higher energy might have been more fun. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I think Dara did deserve to win. I did think for a moment Sophie might win, but yeah, I do think Dara, like I said, Dara is the highest scoring contestant that we've ever had on the show, so I think it is fitting that he won. So if they do a champion of the champions of the champions, so far it will be Josh Widdicombe, Richard Herring, and Dara. So, and out of those 3, I think Dara would win again. I think he's definitely the front runner to be the first and possibly only champion of the champions of the champions, which I really do hope that they do eventually. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like, it really helps the channel, and comment down below your thoughts on Taskmaster Champion of the Champions 3. Subscribe if you want to see more videos to do with Taskmaster. I'll have some more out for you soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!